So now we've looked at the general landscape of large language models and other AI systems. So the question you may be asking now is, what does all this mean for programmers? Okay. So first, I'll give you a disclaimer before I make any predictions. My disclaimer is that this is not traditional software. Okay. So because this is not hand-coded, these things are really bred during the training process. It's very, very hard to predict their capabilities. And so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But my general thinking is that since code is just text, okay, then this is a domain that is quite liable to rapid disruption by large language models. And so what I suspect is that in about 8 to 10 years, thinking kind of medium to long term, programmers will mostly be just product managers. So rather than handwriting most of your code, you will rather be giving it to your LLM agents or giving tasks to your LLM agents, and they'll be the ones writing most of the code. And so you'll be a product manager ideating and thinking about how to structure these things. Now, of course, as a product manager, it is still helpful to know how to write code so that at times you can debug what your employees are doing, what the people you manage are doing. And in the medium term, so thinking maybe the next 4 years though, what I think is you can really greatly increase your coding output as a programmer. I think this is something that most people are already seeing. And of course, you can learn new languages and frameworks very quickly because you have this infinitely patient tutor that can teach you the basics of almost every programming language out there. Okay. And so here are the 3 main modes of using LLMs during your coding that I think have been identified or that most people are trying out. The first is the co-pilot mode, where you have kind of built-in suggestions in your interactive development environment. So this is best typified by the app GitHub Copilot or the extension GitHub Copilot, which is available on most IDEs. And if you haven't tried that out, I really recommend you try it out now. For those of you who are working in R Studio, GitHub Copilot is not quite available yet, but I've seen some commits in the R Studio repo, and I think it's coming up in the next, 1 or 2 months. So you get access to this soon. The one that everyone is talking about now is the consultant mode, that is using ChatGPT. So you take some questions about what you might want to do, and you go consult the model and ask it to give you pointers. Can you help me do this specific task? And you bring that back into your own console and paste it and work on it and edit it to fit your own needs. So that's the consultant mode of ChatGPT. And while almost everyone is doing this now, there are better and worse ways to consult with ChatGPT. So we're going to make a video outlining some of our tips and tricks for best working with ChatGPT 3.5 or ChatGPT 4, how to get the most out of it for your programming needs. So that's the consultant mode for working with LLMs. And the most advanced mode is this autonomous mode, best typified by this project called Agent GPT. And what they try to do is build these systems that can really just go off and do their own thing for you. So you give them a task like go build a website for me, and the model reasons through what it needs to do to build a website. Maybe I need to buy a domain, and then I need to get some servers, and then I need to build the HTML template, and so on and so forth. And it can execute each of those tasks. So sort of like having an employee that you could just give a task. Now this, while I think it is the future, I'm not quite sure it's very ready for prime time at the moment. So we won't spend too much time thinking about that, okay? What you can do at the moment, though, in an autonomous mode is just writing some simple loops that have ChatGPT or some other LLM process some piece of text. So every time you get some new piece of text, you just send it to the LLM. And in that sense, it's sort of autonomous, but it's autonomous in a confined way. You're only having the model do 1 or 2 things over and over again. Okay, so that's the sense in which I think the autonomous mode is ready for prime time. And of course, you could just build your own AI enhanced apps. So there's this large pool of applications that we couldn't have before that now you can build. And if you are a programmer, this is something that you can also be thinking about. I'll close with this funny tweet that I saw. This is a screenshot of a fictitious conversation between 2 people. And one of them says, "Have you heard of this ChatGPT thing?" And the response is, "Yeah, of course, it's awesome." And the friend says, "I'm trying to create an app and it gives me a bunch of code and it's crazy, but where do I put the code?" And the caption, as you can see, is, "Engineers, your jobs are safe for now." And the joke, of course, is that although ChatGPT has all this coding knowledge that in theory you could use If you don't have any basics in mind, such as where to put code, if you haven't learned any basics about programming, it's very hard to take advantage of this model. I will point out something though, that this sentence ends here with for now. So indeed, engineers and developers, I think our jobs in their current states are safe for now, but it's hard to predict for the next, say, 8 to 10 years. So that's a general overview of ChatGPT, of large language models, of how they might change your work as a developer. Hopefully you found that helpful and it gives you a better sense of what's going on when you're working with a model like ChatGPT. I'll see you in a future video where we'll talk about how to make the most of a model like a ChatGPT. But until then, I'm checking out and saying bye-bye.